How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today I want to answer the question so many people have been asking me recently, which is now a good time to buy Terra? It's down about 99.9999% over the last couple weeks, and so many people are thinking if it just goes back to $1, if it goes back to $100, we'll make so much money. So I want to talk about whether now is a good time to buy. I also want to talk about how some people made a lot of money, and I'll give some updates on the whole Terra Luna situation, obviously, throughout this video as well, because some things have come out just over the last few hours even. I also want to talk to you about what I'm doing or what I did with my Terra Luna recently. Whether I bought more or sold or held, I'll talk about that towards the end of the video. So if you guys don't mind hitting the like button and the subscribe button underneath the video, I'm giving daily updates on Terra Luna, the whole situation, also on cryptocurrency in general, the stock market. So hit the subscribe button so you get more of those videos. There's also a link down there to BlockFi. They have a special promotion that's starting here in about 3 hours. So at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I believe, because it's 0 UTC, they're going to start this pizza day trading promotion. So on top of the normal deposit bonus, they're also going to give you an equal share of 1 Bitcoin depending on how much you actually buy of Bitcoin. So you need to buy at least $21 USD to be eligible to receive this. So it's going to be an interesting promotion. You can make some extra money depending on how many people buy. You might be able to get a pretty big chunk of Bitcoin. So there is a link to this underneath the video. I also want to thank Olympus game. So I will talk more about that later in a way to make some extra money. And some people have been really successful with this kind of investment. So we'll talk about that in a bit. Now, the whole reason Luna fell, we know, is because of UST depegging, and they brought it back up, and then they sold off a bunch of their reserves to bring it back up, and then they crashed more. It was a coordinated attack, but we saw a large market cap fall down really significantly. UST had about close to $20 billion in it. It was in the top 10 cryptos, and it just lost peg. A lot of people lost money in Terra then because they had to dilute. They had to start printing Terra to go buy UST, and it caused both the market caps to fall dramatically. Terra was around a $40 billion market cap at its peak, maybe just short of that, 35, but it was bigger than a lot of cryptocurrencies now that are much bigger than it, and now it's fallen down pretty significantly. Now there have been some updates. We know that there's this revival plan that Do Kwon's trying to push through. A lot of people oppose this, and they wanted to just have a burning mechanism instead of having a hard fork, but he keeps on pushing for this, and there might be one reason for this that I'll talk about in a few minutes, but depending on what you held and how long you held it, you might actually get some of these new tokens. Now, I think that there's a gap where if you held the UST and you sold it because you saw, hey, the boat's sinking, I need to get off of this, you still aren't going to be made whole by this new proposal, which I think isn't great for the community. Now, one reason that I think Terra's going to have a difficult time moving forward is because they want to move forward without UST, and they're not trying to recover it. In my opinion, the whole reason that, or the majority of the reason that people use Terra, and this is what brought a lot of people in, was because of the mechanism between UST and Luna. They saw that in a down market, a lot of people would want some kind of yield. Anchor was the safest, at least that's what we thought, the safest DeFi platform, and you could get 20%. So people that wanted that yield would go and make UST, or they would have UST, then Luna would have to be burned, and that way it would push up the price of Luna. There's a specific amount of time where we saw red in the market and Luna was green significantly because so many people were trying to get their hands on UST. So I think that's going to be really hard moving forward to have a chain without UST, because that's what everyone wants. Now, there's been some back and forth. People wanted the burn mechanism instead of this new proposal with the hard fork, but so far it's gotten a lot of approval from the people that actually get a vote on this. Now 16.4% said no with veto, 79.7% of these people voted yes. So at this point it seems like it's probably going to get passed. Now There was some drama yesterday, and I covered this. The Terra plot thickened because leaked documents show Do Kwon dissolved Terraform Labs before collapse. Now, this might be the reason for that. We actually got news that apparently Terraform Labs had about $78 million that they need to pay in taxes. They actually evaded it, and now people are thinking, okay, maybe this is somehow tied into the whole scandal. Maybe this is why Do's trying to push so hard to get this hard fork, because maybe he can get his hands on some Terra Luna, some of the new chain, and then be able to pay off these taxes. Maybe this is why he dissolved the Terraform Labs, and maybe this is why so many lawyers, 3 lawyers, are now leaving the team. So it does thicken. The plot thickens here. A lot of things are going on behind the scenes that we don't really know about, and Do Kwon's not talking about. Now, amidst all this happening, BNB is offering a lifeline to the Terra ecosystem. They're allowing projects to start moving over and start building on BNB. The Terra ecosystem has a lot of talented creators and developers and builders, and now they're building new projects on BNB. So we've already had at least one project start to move over. It'll be interesting to see how many different projects start moving over because they don't see a potential in Terra. That's just going to be interesting to watch over the coming weeks and months to see, is Luna really dead, and do a lot of the builders want to move over somewhere else? Now, I will say, again, before I tell you whether I'd buy or not, I will say they still do have a lot of money. So this is their reserves before the whole collapse. These are their reserves now. So not much Bitcoin, but that is, still a significant amount, I suppose. It's about $9 million worth of Bitcoin. Then $10 million of BNB, or $12 million. They still have a decent amount of AVAX. I think that's about $60 million. They still have billions of UST. And then they do have a ton of Luna, which is basically worthless. Now, this is still a nice fund, right? So that's still nearly $100 million. So they can use that to try to rebuild the ecosystem. Personally, I think that they are leaving some people out in the cold with this new revival plan. And I personally am not looking to buy this at this point, because you have to realize, even though Terra Luna fell 99.9999%, that doesn't mean that just to get back to its old market cap, it's going to go back to its old price. So they diluted the market cap really significantly. If they got back to $1, that's a 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000x. That'd be a $10 trillion market cap if it got to $1.40. So it would be 15 times the size of Bitcoin now. I don't think there's any way that's happening, even with a burn mechanism, right? Unless they just burn so much and so many people feel very strongly about Luna again and start buying it up. I think they've lost a lot of investors and a lot of investors' confidence. Now, if you are looking to invest, and I'll tell you what I did here in a second with my Terra Luna towards the end of the video. If you are looking to invest, I think you've got to think of it as a high risk, high reward investment. Like a lot of people have their Bitcoin, their Ethereum, and that's the majority of their portfolio in crypto. And maybe they have some top altcoins. And then from there, there's like a degen pie. And those are really high risk, high rewards. Maybe ICOs are in there, Terra, Luna, some of these different projects. Now, I personally would not invest in Luna, but if you do feel interested in that, if you think, okay, maybe they can at least do a 5x, right? Bounce off the bottoms. Maybe I want some free tokens, or I think that their fork is going to go really well, kind of like Ethereum's did years ago. Maybe I want a piece of that. Then maybe you put that in that investment category. Now, there is another project that is really cool that I want to talk to you about for a second before I tell you what I did with my Luna. And this, I would think, would be in the same type of portfolio because it's in that high risk, high reward category. I do want to talk to you about a guilty pleasure of mine, though. So this is something that I've done since college. So it was my sophomore year in college, so probably 2015. I've been playing one specific game for 7 years, and that's Clash Royale. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but they're from Supercell. They're one of the biggest games in the App Store every single year. They did $1 billion in revenue in the first year, and in the first 3 years, they made $2.5 billion, a really popular tower defense game. And one of the most famous crypto games actually reached out to me, and they have a very similar play style, and that's Olympus games. So I'm going to post links to this underneath the video. I think this is awesome because they are a very similar game, like I said. So they have this tower defense aspect to it, and they're focused on esport and competition. So this is the same thing with Clash Royale, really big esport scene. They're going to allow this game to be free to play, but also there's going to be an NFT component, so you can make money, but you don't necessarily have to have money to start it, which I think is good. I know how addicting these games can be and how much fun they can be, so getting as many people in it as possible and really furthering the NFT ecosystem, I think is fantastic. They're going to have tokenomics that allow Olympus to continue to grow value over time, so they're not just unlocking all the tokens at first. And there are going to be several ways to make money. So you can play, rent your cards, and upgrade your cards and then resell them. They also have interesting utility with their actual token. You can actually use this to start boosting your cards. You can buy and sell on the NFT marketplace using these tokens. You can also vote, stack, and donate to streamers playing the Olympus game. And you're going to be able to start buying NFTs this summer. So they are having an ICO here soon. They're trying to gain $500,000 for development of the game. And as soon as the $500,000 is reached, they're going to stop it. So to participate in the ICO, you need a MetaMask wallet. Now you will have to fill out a quick KYC form just for legal reasons. I'll put links to all this underneath the video. Now, of course, always do your due diligence. These ICOs are risky and they are trying to fund the development of the game. Now, they are a partner of the channel. There are links again to this underneath the video to learn more. Now, CZ actually has this kind of investment portfolio as well. They invest in a lot of early projects like Luna. They invested $3 million, and at the top it was worth $1.6 billion. So they did a 500x over 4 years. It's an insane amount of growth that they had. So maybe this kind of investment is right for you, where you do want to invest in some of these high risk, high reward projects, but just know that probably should be a smaller portion of your portfolio. Now, what I did with my Luna, because I feel like, just to be clear, I feel like this is uninvestable at this point because they lost so many people's confidence. They're not moving forward with the most important part of what brought people in the first place. And to get back to their old price or get anywhere near it is near impossible at this kind of circulating supply. So yes, they're down 99.9999%, but it's not like they could even get down to 99% down, right? It's way too difficult. Of course, if you're looking at a $1 billion market cap, that's still really large in the crypto market today. So I don't think that it's going to move up very much from here because I think there is so much fallout that's still going to happen, and a lot of people still have tokens locked up. Let's not forget that they did an investment round where they had a lot of Luna that they sold, and that was at $50, and that was locked up for like a couple of years. Now that's nothing compared to their circulating supply now, but I just can't think that any big money is coming into this. I think most of the fluctuations right now are just from degens trying to jump in and possibly get a little bit of a relief rally, for example. And I think people have to realize just because it's fallen 99.999% now, it can still fall down another 90%. It did that, it fell 90% like 6 times, 7 times, and that happened in a few days. So it still can fall down another 90%. Let's not forget that. Now, what I did with my Terra Luna, I actually held on to it, and I'm not buying any more at this point. After I saw that they were diluting so much, and they were basically just diluting to try to get UST back to the peg, after I saw that, I really didn't buy anymore, and I think I'm just holding it really right now to see what they do moving forward. I might want some of those new tokens. I have such a small amount in it. I think it's just pennies now because it's fallen down so much that I'm not really looking to sell. What's the point of selling? I get 5 cents or something to put into a good asset. I don't think there's much of a point in that, but I also don't feel like buying any either is a good idea at this point because it's really a gamble at this point. I also don't like the fact that they've switched back and forth on what they're trying to do with UST. so many times. So the reason Luna fell in the first place is because they were trying to defend UST. Like, they burned Luna to the ground just to try to repeg UST. And then now in their proposals, they don't care about UST holders really at all, unless you've held this entire time. So they're flip-flopping back and forth. They're getting rid of their, I think, the reason that most people came in. And they're also under some legal investigation from multiple countries, and they also owe a bunch of taxes, at least Do Kwon does. So I don't trust this. I feel like there are much better places to put my money, and I'm not trying to get this at $1 billion valuation. This is the biggest fail, I think, in crypto history, and it's still a $1 billion valuation. So let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. I'll continue to cover it because I think a lot of people still have money riding on this and they want to know what's happening with it. So I'll continue to cover it, but I'm not buying at this point. Let me know your thoughts underneath the video. Again, special thanks to Olympus, and check out the link underneath to BlockFi as well, and I'll see you in the next video.